Education is the key that opens and develops socio-political and economy of every nation. And it is important for a nation that wishes to develop to invest more in education than other sectors. On PR Conversation with the CEO today, we are focusing on improving tertiary education, the role of private university. Today again, I bring to the studio the Vice Chancellor of Crescent University, Abeokuta, Professor Ibrahim Gbajabiamila, to your image this week. You are welcome, sir, Prof.
Thank you very much.
Last week, we focused more attention on some of the selling points of the university, how the university came about to be one of the best private universities in Nigeria. Today, we want to go contemporary. To start with, Prof, let's take a look at some of the challenges facing the education sector in Nigeria.
Yes, thank you very much. I think we have to really be introspective to look at where we have failed. I think the summary is that we inherited a better system that we are going to leave for our children. Essentially, at independence, the University of Ibadan were taking, students there were taking University of London degrees. They sat exactly the same exams and they did very well in those exams. The University College Hospital in Ibadan was one of the best in the Commonwealth. When I say Commonwealth, including Australia, New Zealand. So the excellence was there at the beginning. But unfortunately, through a number, over the years, the achievement of our parents in having all the emphasis on education, and particularly in the Southwest with Chief Obafemi Awolowo's policies in providing scholarship
and free education,
where a lot of our parents benefited from that free education. It didn't matter where you came from or who you were, they got those scholarship and they excelled. There was extra tax for education. We didn't have oil, but we were able to build Cocoa House and all the things, that infrastructure that you see, the first television studio in Africa, and what you have in the stadium, a lot of achievements. But over the years, the standard started to drop. And that is what is clear in your question, that when we started off with those students were competing globally, suddenly over that period, with the military government, less and less was spent on the university sector. And I think what has brought it to a head is that as we slide down, we started to see the standard drop, simply because the universities were not funded to the same level, the performance dropped, and of course, as you know, there has been intermittent strike in those universities as of today. They were still having the strikes that people were having 20, 30 years ago, which has meant that it is disrupting the education system of our children. And we have to decide ourselves, why is it that our students thrive when they go abroad? What are the opportunities we are giving them here? So what we as a nation need to do is to reflect back. And I was hoping that, as you will have seen with the COVID-19 pandemic, it exposed fragility in both health and education. We had a situation where for 200 million people, there were only 2 functional laboratories.
Wow.
2, although we've got up to 40 now. We were not unable to actually support the nation. So, and of course, the education system could not cope because the public sector could not engage in online learning as private universities were able to do. So I think our mantra as a nation and as parents would be that we should try to regain the standard that our parents left for us. And I'm not sure whether what we are going to leave to our children will be as good as what we inherited. That, I think, is a shame. And I think that is an area of concern.
Okay, but some argue that proliferation of universities in Nigeria has contributed immensely to the low standard of education. What's your take on this?
That's an unfortunate statement, because that's an elitist statement. I think what Chief Gbajabiamila always said is that education for all. I think what you are saying is that we have the private public and state, the total carrying capacity is 450,000. But the total number of students sitting JAM is 2 million now.
Wow.
Now, you have 450 spaces and you have 2 million. If you see it as a musical chair, there will be winners and losers. And 1.5 million will not be able to get space. So I think to say that proliferation is, in fact, is not enough. That is really the issue. But you must also...
universities are not enough.
They are not enough, yes. That's one, because of the size of our population. But what you also have to look at is the brain drain and the funding of other people's education, as I've said before. And I think I said last week that we have 78,000 Nigerian students in Ghana alone being paid for by their parents. Parents are paying in dollars as foreign students. If you add up what they are paying totally, it's about 126 billion that parents, Nigerian parents in Ghana alone. So our total budget is less than that amount. So you can also see the point that I'm making, that parents will go elsewhere. We have almost every country in the world. You will find Nigerian students. As I've said, in the University of London, where I was teaching, Nigerian students are a substantial proportion. In the US, in Malaysia, Singapore, if an economist was to look at that export of money to those countries, you will see that if we had invested it in our own education, as our parents did, that is the justification that I said we are leaving behind something substandard for our children than our parents gave us.
You're watching Your Image, and this is PR Conversation with the CEO. My guest is the Vice Chancellor of Crescent University, Abeokuta, Professor Ibrahim Gbajabiamila, and we're talking on improving tertiary education in Nigeria, the role of private universities. We will be right back. When we are back, the conversation with Professor Gbajabiamila continues.
Think of the university that promotes academic and moral excellence and offers religious freedom. Think of Crescent University, Abeokuta.
At Crescent University, we place high value on academic and moral excellence, plus conducive atmosphere for learning for students and staff, regardless of gender, tribe, or religion.
Indi bayin ekele munu abum ada unu wayin Okechukwu Chidima nke si na Anambra State. Achọrọ m ịkọwatara unu na nnukwu ụlọ akwụkwọ mahadum nke a na-akpọ Crescent University dị na Abeokuta bụ maka mmadụ niile.
Assalamu alaikum, sunana Asma Ismail daga Crescent University. Crescent University gida ce ta kowa, nagode.
Orúkọ tèmi ni Adéníkè Adékìntàn. Ọmọ Yorùbá lèmi o. Ilé-ìwé gíga Crescent University ó dúró gẹ́gẹ́ bí ilé fún gbogbo wa.
Our academic excellence is built on resourceful lecturers. Our graduates are excelling in their various fields of endeavors, which include mass communication, law, economics, banking and finance, computer science, information communication technology, architecture, microbiology, accounting, and many more.
If success is the goal, Crescent University is where you should be.
Crescent University, citadel of academic and moral excellence.
For further enquiries, visit our website at www.cuab.edu.ng or visit our campus at Kilometer 5, Aitu Road, Lafenwa, Abeokuta, or call 0803 064 4731. Again, 0803 064 4731.
It's still your conversation, the PR conversation with the CEO. My guest is Professor Ibrahim Gbajabiamila. Before we went on break the other time,
yes.
I was to ask you a question. And the question is that, tertiary institutions are known to be a very volatile community. When we have different clashes with host communities, different stakeholders, how has your university been coping with the host community as a private institution for that matter?
Yes. Again, I think the advantage of private universities are that all our students live on campus. So they are not living with landlords.
No off-campus.
No, there's no. We have no off-campus. That has always been the decision of the proprietor. Okay. All our students, all the students that we are receiving from the north, the selling point is that they are in Abeokuta.
So you have students from other parts of the
Yes,
country?
we have students from other parts. We have students from Kano, Sokoto, Zamfara, Gombe,
wow.
almost all the northern states. Every state is represented. But parents are reassured that they are in an enclosed environment. And we don't have anybody living outside. So that, I think, is an important selling point. But more importantly, the host community appreciates the university. I think you have to also acknowledge all over the world that wherever there's a university, it contributes to the local economy. And in the Ogun State, we are quite fortunate. Ogun State has the largest number of universities in any
tertiary institutions.
Tertiary institution. And that I think is a leading plus for the state. The state is what we call, has the knowledge economy. What that means is that a lot of the students are getting jobs in Ogun State when they finish. And as I said, there is no other state that's even close to Ogun State in a number of tertiary institutions. What that means for us, it means that as an employer of labor, the universities contribute to that local economy. After all, that is the main advantage of that tertiary institution being located. That's why everybody wants to have one. It's an employer of labor, but also contributes to the local economy. So that I think is important with our host community. They see us positively, and they see our students also positively. His Excellency has given scholarships to people in the local community. A number of students are on either 50% or full scholarship from the community. So as a way of encouraging them to pursue education. I think what he regrets is that in their own time, there was competition for street by street, Ogun State against Osun State and Ekiti State and Lagos State. So our parents value education, and you cannot try to convince them. So that is the reason why when he's serving the country abroad, at The Hague and in London as the UK ambassador, he did not recognize the names they were calling us as not caring about education. And it's for those two reasons. The number of children out of school, 20 million, that has been the case for 30 years. No top 10 oil-producing country has such figures. They cannot understand why we cannot get our children into school when Ghana, Zambia, others, Tanzania has progressed more by 50% from independence in getting their education more up to stream. And the second point, of course, is infant mortality. That Nigerian is the worst place to give birth because of the infant mortality. That has not improved. So they don't understand why we don't spend enough on health as a top 10 oil producer. That is what has exposed our shortcomings with the pandemic. Because when the pandemic started, we relied on donations of the test kits. We did not spend any money, we did not have laboratories, and most of our hospitals do not have running water or light.
Sorry for interjecting.
Yes.
Let me go back to the corporate social responsibility. You talked about the pandemic.
Yes.
Did you give back to the community during the pandemic?
Yes.
As an existing university in your community, your locality?
Yes, we did, because I think the pandemic did not know who you are, but it was facilities. And again, as a virologist, I was concerned that to fight the erroneous impression that the virus did not exist. I gave a number of radio interviews to reassure people and to support the efforts of the federal government in enlightenment on the pandemic. But more importantly for us as a university, we are a source of knowledge, and we have facilities that are of use. So those are important areas of that contribution. What we are saying is that we want the children of the poor to also benefit from what we are enjoying as a private university. That is why they are unable during the lockdown to even engage in online learning. And that online learning has meant that we have not learned anything from 2014 when the Ebola crisis started. The issue is that you have to have system in place. We are going to have periodic pandemics. We should be able to spend on health and education.
I learned there's Gbajabiamila Scholarship for Academic and Moral Excellence.
Yes.
What is it about?
Yes, that's part of His Excellency's contribution to the local community, the corporate social responsibility. The awards are one to recognize excellence in performance, and the second is to avoid scholarship to indigenes that might not otherwise. We have students who have scored more than 200, 240, 250 in JAM, and the parents cannot afford to send them to tertiary education. In the old days, they will have benefited from the Awolowo scholarships, which is what I said our parents benefited from. So His Excellency, in his own small way, is to bring those cases to him and awarded personal scholarship varying from 50% to full scholarship. Those, I think, is part of, as he sees, is putting back. He has represented the country internationally, and he felt that he has to put something back, and I think that is what corporate social responsibility is about.
Before I go to my next question, let me ask this. Has your university or your student participated in any competition within and outside the country?
Yes, I mean, it's interesting you should ask that question, because only last month, the best female law student throughout the whole country, Simbiat, Lola Simbiat, she is the Nigerian 2020 best law student. That is a great achievement for the whole of Nigeria. She competed, first of all, she won the regional for Southwest. She then competed with all the other regions, Northwest, Southeast, and whatever, and she won that competition. And I think that is a great achievement for a university that is less than 15 years old, and more or less a department that is less than 6 years old. The excellence coming from there is for all to see, and I think we're very proud, as I said, of the achievements of those students. Wherever they have participated, they have done very well. We had the Ogun State Computer Society World Competition at the last meeting, which was held at Crescent University. Fortuitously, it was about e-health.
Wow.
And this is in October, November, before the pandemic. And the presentation in those days were, what would we do if there was a pandemic? Can you imagine? You know, and then 3 or 4 months later, what we were predicting just came. And of course, the issue of preparedness.
It's just like you predicted it.
Exactly. So if I say to you now, well, what would you do if this happened? Do we have enough hospital facilities? Do we have enough trained personnel to be able to support that enterprise? And that is why some states were unable to do testing. They didn't have the right personnel to do the job. They didn't have the PCR to be able to run it continuously for 14, 15 hours, because they are running it on generators. Those are all inadequate for what is needed.
You are still watching PR Conversation with the CEO. And my guest today is still the Vice Chancellor of Crescent University, Abeokuta, Professor Ibrahim Gbajabiamila. Once again, we have a very short break. When we come back, the PR program continues in a moment. Stay tuned.
Think of the university that promotes academic and moral excellence and offers religious freedom. Think of Crescent University, Abeokuta.
At Crescent University, we place high value on academic and moral excellence, plus conducive atmosphere for learning for students and staff, regardless of gender, tribe, or religion.
Indi bayin ekele munu, abum ada unu wayin Okechukwu nke si na Anambra State. Achọrọ m ịkọwatara unu na nnukwu ụlọ akwụkwọ mahadum nke a na-akpọ Crescent University dị na Abeokuta bụ maka mmadụ niile.
Assalamu alaikum, sunana Asma Ismail daga Crescent University. Crescent University gida ce ta kowa, nagode.
Orúkọ tèmi ni Adenike Adekintan. Ọmọ Yorùbá lèmi o. Ilé-ìwé gíga Crescent University ó dúró gẹ́gẹ́ bí ilé fún gbogbo wa.
Our academic excellence is built on resourceful lecturers. Our graduates are excelling in their various fields of endeavors, which include mass communication, law, economics, banking and finance, computer science, information communication technology, architecture, microbiology, accounting, and many more.
If success is the goal, Crescent University is where you should be.
Crescent University, citadel of academic and moral excellence.
For further enquiries, visit our website at www.cuab.edu.ng or visit our campus at Kilometer 5, Aitu Road, Lafenwa, Abeokuta, or call 0803 064 4731. Again, 0803 064 4731.
Before I have a question here, before I throw another question, I have a question here. And the question says that, do you have a medicine or medical related courses in your institution?
Yes, we are developing, it's part of our area of expansion. We are developing that. We currently have degrees in biochemistry, microbiology. The 4 elements to College of Health Science we are putting in place, which would require physiology and anatomy.
You don't have medicine yet?
So we don't have it yet, but it's in the planning. And we,
the nursing as
yes, as well. We hope that within the next 12 months, the plan will be revealed. But it's only because of the pandemic and because of NUC accreditation. But we have already built the facilities and we are already equipping it, and it will be ready in time. So I think that is the next one. I think also in justifying it, it was part of that e-health debate, that is where parents want. They want more, and I think you also have to understand our national problem. Our national problem is that we are a great exporter of our experts. There are 5,279 Nigerian doctors in the UK alone. 5,279. That is why during the pandemic they came to take some more. Essentially because the training is excellent for them, and the international community need them. There have been a lot of casualties because of the pandemic. Nursing, all health professionals. So in future they need them. But what we have to ask is that what is their contribution to our own problem? We are training people, but we cannot keep them. And of course, if parents are sending people to private university and they are not getting scholarship, then you cannot keep them.
And that takes me to my next question.
Yes.
Let's go to the area of collaboration. Has there been any collaboration established between your university and other institutions, whether here in Nigeria or abroad?
Yes, we have collaboration with a number of universities abroad. We had collaboration with University of Coventry, University of Derby, Derby in the UK, and also, of course, in the Middle East and Turkey. We went to Turkey to look at agreement, and South Africa. So we were looking for destination for additional training for our students. And of course, we are also planning to widen the horizon to provide opportunities for them, so that the idea is that they can proceed for postgraduate studies abroad, or that they can do our degree and finish off in another institution.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. The collaboration, maybe they do through 300 level here, then they finish over there, or vice versa.
Yes, those agreements are in place, and we are working on actualizing it. So that, I think, is one of the flexibilities of the private university, and also because of my own experience of having worked abroad, so to create those links and to ensure that those students progress. As I've said, we went to Turkey to look at various initiatives, and some of our students have gone to Turkey, South Africa, UK, US, and India. So the progression of them is something that we are proud of, and it's something that we'll develop further. We as a private institution, we look at what the market wants, what the parents want, and we provide them. Yes.
Now, Professor Gbajabiamila, in the next 5 years, you may not be there as the Vice Chancellor.
Yes.
Where do you wish to sit Crescent University?
Well, I want to and pray that Crescent University remains very strong, because, as I said, it has been a commitment of all its resources by His Excellency Principal Ajibala, and I think that what you want is the stability and sustainability of that investment, so that you will have the full complement of courses, that they would be a credit the academic and moral excellence that he wants those students. So I think the ambassadors, the students that have graduated, will generate more, and I think you want the university to contribute more to the local, national and international economy. So that, I think, is what I want to see the university achieve over the next few years.
Before I round off, if you are to advise government at various levels, what will be your advice to them in the area of education?
Yes, advice is clear. We need to spend more on education. We need to go back to what I said, that we want to get back to where we were coming from, what our parents gave us. The UNESCO asked us to spend 25% of GDP on education. We are spending less than 10%. So we are spending more on National Assembly or other frivolous activity than on education. The education and health. So if the issue is, we should not be aiming to compete with Ghana. You know, we are just above Somalia, which is a war-torn country. Rwanda has a national airline. We do not have a national airline. We do not, our education is going down, and they don't understand what we did with all the money. Those are the challenges. So when you see children that should be in school, or students that should be in school, roaming about the streets and doing all sorts of whatever, it threatens national security. Students have been away for a whole year, and you have to ask yourself, is that the best we can do for our children as a top 10 oil producer? So my advice to them is that they should spend more, because where you've spent more, there's been results. And Ghana, as I said, is a good example. South Africa is a good example. And as I said, look at Rwanda. You know, if you travel, you will find, if you go to Abuja, you will find Rwanda here. You know, and you have a situation with, if you travel, Ghana would say Ghanaians first on Ghana Airways. They have been running airways since 1958. Kenya has been running its airways. Ethiopian Airline has 78 planes. You know, so you can see the challenges before us, that we have engineers, we have people who are qualified, but the channeling of those avenues has not been available. So that's my advice to them, that they spend more.
On a final note, a take home for the Nigerian youth. Very short one.
The Nigerian youth are actually, they have proven their worth all over the world, where they have been able to excel.
Okay.
I think we as parents have failed to provide them with the right tools for success. So my excel to them is that they should carry on, and that there will be a change that would allow them to meet their full potential. I think you have to say to them that you can meet your full potential in your country. You don't have to leave the country to succeed, and that is what has happened to us as a nation.
You can make your full potentials in your country, Nigeria, our country. And that's where we draw the curtains of this week's edition of Your Image, PR Conversation with the CEO. My guest has been the Vice Chancellor of Crescent University, Abeokuta, Professor Ibrahim Gbajabiamila. I want to say a very big thank you for being on my shoot, and I hope when next we invite you, you oblige us.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Until we'll meet next week for another web package edition of Your Image. Be yourself, don't try to be like anybody. See you next week.
Okay.